Uh-oh, better get Maaco? That's what we're going to talk about in the video today. So welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about and reviewing the Maaco paint job that I got for my truck. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by and watching, and for those who are subscribed, I'm sorry for not making a video in such a long time. It's just been crazy busy for me the past year and a half to 2 years. But anyway, so we're going to get started on this. I sold my Mustang in April. That was my midlife crisis car, and I had my fun with it. And so after that I decided, well, what am I going to do with my truck? Am I going to keep it, or am I going to get rid of it? Well, I decided against getting rid of it for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have $60,000 to $70,000 to throw at a new truck, and two, it just so happens that I actually like this truck that I have. And let you know what it is that this truck is that I do have, because I failed to mention that a minute ago. This is a 2001 GMC Sierra SLT. It's got the 5.3 liter V8, 4L60E automatic transmission, and it's two-wheel drive. So I decided against getting rid of this truck. One, cost. I just don't have $60,000 to $70,000 to throw at a new truck. But more importantly, I actually really like this truck. It just needed to be made nice, and it's a whole lot easier to throw $8,000 to $10,000 at this truck and make it virtually new again than it is to throw tens of thousands of dollars at a newer vehicle. And I thought it would be fun to do some of the work on this truck myself. I've already done a lot of work, but the paint job was on my list of things to do to this truck. Now, the paint was supposed to have been the last thing on my list, but it got moved up way high on my list of priorities after I replaced all four ball joints on the front end, replaced upper control arms on the front end, replaced the outer tie rods, and I have ready to go a power rack overhaul kit and a pair of inner tie rods to replace while the rack and pinion's removed from the truck. I haven't done that yet, but that's on the list. So after I replaced the other steering components and front suspension components and wheel hubs and brakes, I noticed that some rust was just beginning to poke through the paint over the rear wheel arches. Not much, but just enough to begin to break through the paint. Well, we all know that rust will destroy a vehicle if you don't get it taken care of pretty quickly. And so I moved that up on my list to be the next thing to do. And so I started looking around and checking out some prices in the area where I live, which there really aren't many options Cedarvale is a town of about 500. The closest Walmart's 35 miles away. And so, I mean, there are no paint shops, body shops here in Cedarvale. So the next town over, I stopped in to a body shop there that was highly recommended by some people that I know after work one day. And so I talked to the fellow and told him what I wanted to do. I wanted him to repair all the dings and dents, repair the bed rail caps, and then repaint the entire truck, new clear coat, but go back with only one color. This truck had a kind of a pewter, not quite silver, but maybe a pewter stripe along the bottom portion of the sides of the truck, and the cap on top of the front bumper was also painted that color. That was aftermarket, actually. I'm the third owner of this vehicle. The last owner did some paint work to this truck, and you could see that that bottom stripe was aftermarket. The top edge of the paint was rough. It was straight, and it was well hidden, but you could definitely feel it, which tells me this was not a factory paint. And also, there were some chips in that paint, revealing the bright blue paint underneath it. And so anyway, I decided, in an effort to save a little bit of money, just go back solid color, the entire truck, be blue, and as close to the original blue as possible, so don't have to paint door jambs and remove windows and things like this. And so I went to a very reputable shop in town and told him all these things that I wanted to do, and he said, well, just for the paint will be $6,000 to $7,000. That's not including the body work, because there were three respectable dents, nothing major, but two of them were on the roof skin. You know, okay, so what? I mean, no one can see that, but I knew that those two dents were there, and another one was right in front of the between the front of the bed on the driver's side and the fuel filler door. Now that dent was just an eyesore. And there were several other smaller dents. You kind of really have to look to see them, but they're there. And so he said, not including the body work, just the paint was going to be $6,000 to $7,000. I was like, well, okay, that's a little expensive, I think. And he says, and I asked him, so when can you get to it? And he said, well, because of insurance work, it's going to be probably about a year before I can get to it. Well, holy crap, a year? I won't have a truck left because of rust in a year. No, I got to get this done. And so I began to explore other options, and then I remembered Maaco. Now, we all have heard the horror stories about Maaco, but let's give them the benefit of a doubt, because it is a franchise auto body and paint shop. You know, so like McDonald's or Pizza Hut or whatever your favorite fast food chain is, this one right here may not taste very good, but go down the street a couple of miles to the next one and it's going to be really good. What's the difference? They have different owners. That's the difference. May have the same brand over the door, but they have different owners because it's a franchise. And so I began to watch YouTube reviews, and what I noticed on the video reviews for Maaco that I saw on YouTube, the ones that were bad reviews were made by people who paid for the $500 paint job but expected a $5,000 paint job. And so they didn't like the results, but then they didn't pay for the results either. See, Maaco actually has 4 paint packages. They have the $500 one, they have the $800 one, they have the $1,100 one, then they have the $2,500 one, which is the highest. And so, but all the good review videos that I saw are those who spent either $1,100 or $2,500 for their paint jobs. And, you know, they're not factory. These paint jobs were not like what you were going to get at this auto body shop, the first one I went to, that was going to charge me $6,000 to $7,000 because they're a custom shop, you know. But the results were good. I mean, they were the expensive paint jobs on the reviews that I saw, they were definitely good, acceptable. And so I decided, well, okay, there's a couple more places I need to check. And so I found the closest Maaco to me, which is in Wichita, Kansas. It's called Maaco East. They have 3 Maacos in Wichita. And the closest one to me is Maaco East. And so I looked them up on the internet, and I found 21 reviews for that particular Maaco in Wichita. 19 out of the 21 reviews were 4 stars or above. And all of those 19 reviews had one of the 2 higher packages. And they came with pictures, and the pictures, I mean, the results were good. And they all had positive things to say about the service, the staff, how helpful the owner of that store is. His name is Kevin Hutchins, but he has a nickname. I think it's kind of a cool nickname, Scooby. I don't know how he got the nickname Scooby, but all right, dude, whatever. I think that's cool. And so anyway, what about the other 2? The other 2 reviews were very bad reviews. And why were they bad? For the same reason the bad reviews on YouTube were bad. They paid for the $500 paint job expecting $5,000 worth of quality, and they didn't get it. Well, you do your research and you see what you get for these different packages, and you begin to understand why. And so I elected to go with the $2,500 paint job, $2,500 package, because I don't want to drive junk. And since I've got 211,000 miles on this truck right now, and some change, and I plan on putting another 211,000 miles on this truck. And so I want it to look good. And especially since I have all these other plans. You know, for example, turn this over right here. This is the passenger seat. This is the Cadillac logo. That's because I have the full interior out of a 2007 Escalade. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use the back seat or the center console, but I can use the passenger seat and I can use the driver's seat, and I'm going to try to get this driver's seat replaced today. But anyway, and so I plan on keeping this truck, and I don't like to drive junk. It's a really nice truck, and there's really not much wrong with it. You know, really, most of the things that I'm doing are purely cosmetic, except for, you know, like ball joints and axles and things like this. But most of the things that I'm doing are cosmetic. And so, I like the truck. There's not much wrong with it. It's a whole lot easier to throw $8,000 to $10,000 at this truck that I already like, and it's, you know, it's my truck, than it is to take $50, $60, $70,000 and buy a newer or new truck. And so I went to Maaco and I got my estimate. I spoke with a fellow named Barry Gravenmere. I don't know how to say his last name. But his first name is Barry. And I went in on June 3rd of this year, 2021, for the estimate. Now, this guy was awesome. He was just an absolute pleasure to work with. And he really helped me out a lot. And I'm thankful to him for that. And so I got the high dollar paint job package, and it was actually going to be $2,209.85. He gave me an awesome discount on that of $442.65, which brought the total paint job package down to $1,767.20. Shop supplies, he estimated $376.80. Surface recondition, $149.95. Body labor to do the work. Now see, we weren't going to do any cutting of metal, not even over the wheel arches on the bed, because it was just surface rust. It hadn't eaten through the metal yet. It hadn't taken out the body panel yet. It was still structurally sound. And you can push on it really hard and it doesn't budge. So it's just surface rust and just enough to break the paint. And that saved me a whole lot of money because Barry agreed with me at that point. But body labor came out to be $2,512. No discount. Now, I understand that. This is going to be some of the most labor-intensive work on the vehicle, but it needed to be done. So it brought my total up to a grand total of $5,220.15. So Maaco promised me that the work would be completed once I check it in 15 to 20 business days. And okay, I get that. I understand that, because they have a lot of other business in there. He told me how they work. They try to do, at least four smaller projects in the morning and then one big project in the afternoon. This way, they don't have a bunch of guys or girls standing around watching paint dry. That way, they're always busy, and because their workers work on commission, and so they need to stay busy. Anyway, I understand that, and I was cool with that. And so I had to pay at least half down to check it in. And so the estimation was complete and presented to me on June 3rd. On June 22nd, I actually was able to take it there and drop it off. I had a little bit of a wait for a couple of reasons. One was financial. I needed to make sure I had the funds to cover the total cost, not just half, the total cost, because I don't want to owe them anything when they're done. The other issue was logistics. This Maaco is an hour and a half away from where I live, and so I'm going to need some help. This is now the only vehicle I have. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I live here by myself, so I'm going to have to depend upon the grace of others for apparently 15 to 20 business days. We'll just call it a month. And so figuring out the logistics. And so it turned out that after getting that down and securing financing, I was able to check it in on June the 22nd, 2021. And I had to pay at least half down. So the total bill was $5,220.15. I paid down $2,620.15, which is just a few dollars over half. And so they took my truck. So now it's just a waiting game. I have Dave and Wendy helping me to get to Maaco and back, both when I go to check in my truck and also when I go to accept delivery of my truck and bring it home. In the meantime, Peanut and his wife Josie are letting me borrow one of their vehicles to drive while this truck is in the shop. So after 15 to 20 business days, so we'll say 20 business days, 5 days in a typical working week, 4 weeks. After the fifth week, I'll remember I was promised 3 to 4 weeks. After the 5th week, I gave him a call. Hey guys, how's it going? And by this time, Barry had the estimator that I spoke with, that I worked with. By this time, he had left, and they had a new office manager. His name is Josh. I don't know his last name. Anyway, Josh is a pretty cool guy. I like Josh. He was straightforward. He knows what he's doing, and he was honest. And so I called him up and I said, "Hey, how's it going?" He said, "Oh yeah, we're finishing up with your truck today. It'll be ready for you tomorrow." And I said, "Cool." And so the next day, the next day was a Friday, and so I got a hold of David and Wendy Dennis, and so we all just met there the next day after work. We got there, I went inside and checked in with Josh, got the key to my truck, and I went back outside to begin my inspection of it. And yeah, it was a nightmare. I'm not going to lie. It was horrible. It actually made me nauseous. Overall, it was the wrong color. And it was probably the wrong color because it had not been wet sanded. And because it hadn't been wet sanded, it looked like they had used a whole bunch of rattle cans of spray paint and painted the truck in a sauna. I've never seen an orange with this much orange peel on it. It was bad. And I can't say on top of that, but I'll say within that, there was so much trash in the paint. I didn't even have to put a hand on it to see it. Or to feel it, because I could see it. These glasses, they work. I could see the trash in the paint, but I didn't want to touch it anyway because of the layer of dust that completely covered my truck. As I walked around, I noticed they had overspray on one of my brand new headlamp housing assemblies, and had also gotten some overspray on my grill, gotten some overspray on the front bumper. And so I walked back inside. Josh is sitting in there, and he says, "So, is it beautiful?" And I said, "No, no, it's not." He says, "Well, what's wrong?" I said, "It'd be better just for you to come out and take a look for yourself than for me to try to describe it." And so he came outside with me. And I explained to him, hey, you're lucky I plan on replacing this bumper and this grill anyway because of the overspray. And we went around the entire truck. Dave and Wendy were with me. And the only good that I could say was the dent in front of the fuel door on the driver's side and the bed rail caps. That bodywork looked amazing. They did a really, really good job on that. But they had missed every other dent. And I was so disgusted that I didn't even remember to get up in the bed of the truck to look at the roof to see if they had gotten those two dents up there. Nor did I even remember to pop the hood to see if they had painted my intake manifold cover like I had asked. And so we went around the truck, and the trash in the paint, the orange peel, how filthy the truck was overall, the lack of care, attention to detail, the gross negligence in even bothering to look at the ticket to see the work that was required. And then the tape lines were horrible. Now, they told me that they were not going to remove the chrome trim strips on the sides of the truck, and I kind of went like this. What? You're not going to? And he said, no, I promise you, we have very good tapers. I'm like, okay, well, as long as you can make it look good. And so they did a very bad job of taping and masking off the truck, because there was no paint on the bottom and top edges of this chrome trim at that time. And the color, it faded as it got closer to the bottom of the panels of the truck on the wheel arches. And I pointed that out to him also, and I said, look, dude, these dents over here, you didn't take care of. I mean, he says, well, if you want to go ahead and take it, you can, I can knock off $250. I said, $250, dude, this job is $5,200. Would you buy this? And he said, no. And I said, I'm not going to buy it either. You're going to fix it. And he said, well, it may take a few days. And I said, fine. I'm not taking this in this condition. This is wrong. There is nothing about this except for those few places on the bodywork that's acceptable. And I've already paid you $2,600, and I plan on paying you another $2,600 when it's done. This is unacceptable. And so we left, and I was just sick to my stomach. But I thought about a comment that Josh had made all weekend. Now, I'm not a painter, and I told Josh this, and I even told Kevin Hutchins or Scooby about this. I'm not a painter, but I'm not completely ignorant of the process either. And the thing that was bothering me about Josh's comment, the comment that he said that was bothering me was, well, it's going to take a few days. Okay, what I saw was going to require a complete repaint of the truck, which is going to take longer than a few days. And so at this point, I decided I needed to get the owner involved. Kevin Scooby Hutchins. And so I called and talked to Josh, got his phone number because he wasn't there. And I shot him a text asking him to call me, and he called me back a few minutes later. And we had a good conversation on the phone, a very good conversation, actually. Because by that time, he was made aware of what was going on. And he saw everything, and he agreed with me 100%. It was just unacceptable. And so I explained to him my concern. My concern is, your man said it's going to be done and it can be fixed in a few days. What I saw can't be fixed in a few days. You know, it's going to take 10 days to get it to fix it right. And Scooby said, well, it might take a little bit longer. I said, okay, fine. And when I told Scooby that I was going to make this review, he asked me, ask, that may not be the right word, but that's going to be the word that I use. He said, be sure to say this on the review, that you told me that we have all the time we need to make this right. And I did say that. But it was another 4 weeks. 4 weeks. It should have been done in 10 days. And in fact, it could have been done in 10 days. And so anyway, Scooby asked me to include that, and I think he was probably figuring that I would be ashamed to mention that, because after 4 weeks, I called him up and I said, look, dude, I got to have my truck, because next week I'm not going to have anything to drive. Why? Because Peanut and Josie need their truck back. Scooby never offered to provide me with a loaner or a rental. What am I going to do? Walk 37.5 miles to work every day? And so this is the point. It took them a total of 9 weeks. Paint my truck once and then repaint it 2 more times. He had my truck for 9 weeks and still couldn't get it done right. But he's going to say to me, be sure to tell on your review that you told me I would have all the time that I needed. You had 9 weeks. That is unacceptable. 5 weeks. After 5 weeks, I stopped caring about your schedule or the schedules of your other customers, Scooby, because I was not told. No one communicated with me that it was going to be a week late. Now, I continued to get excuse after excuse. And like I said, I appreciate Josh, because he was so disgusted with this whole process, because his workers could not get it right. And he told me, because of my truck, that he had to let go. That he had to let go a couple of his painters. I just had to check the time because it said that it had exceeded. Okay. Yeah, I figured that this video may take a little bit longer, but I want to make sure that I get present as much information as I can. Now, I understand staffing issues, and I understand scheduling issues. I also understand having to communicate with your customers. But as the customer in this situation, and having not been made aware that my truck was going to be a week late, after having to refuse delivery when it was already a week late, I stopped caring about their staffing issues or their scheduling issues. And I certainly didn't want to hear any excuses. Josh tried, but their painters simply did not read the ticket, the work order, and they would not do what he told them to do. They wouldn't do it the way he told them to do it. And so they continually made mistakes. For example, there was one day that I was expecting him to call and to tell me that I could go get my truck the next day. And so he shot me a text and he said, I'm really sorry. Went outside to inspect your truck, and not only did they not buff and polish the paint, but when I was looking it over, saw that there was a cut in the paint up here on this door. And I was like, what? How in the world do you get a cut or scratch in the paint that is forehead level? Now, if it was someone being careless and had their shirt tucked in and accidentally dragged a belt buckle across the paint, that would still be unacceptable, but it'd be more understandable. How in the world does this happen? Someone used a razor blade to remove tape. And so that was another repaint. And finally, it just came down to, he told me that finally one day he said, look, all that needs to be done now is buff and polish, and it will be done in a couple of days. I didn't hear from him in a couple of days. I called him up and I said, look, dude, you're killing me. I gotta have my truck. Next week I'm not going to have anything to drive. I'm going to be there tomorrow to get it. And he said, okay, I'll do my very best to have it ready to go. I said, okay. When I got there, it still wasn't done right. Kevin Hutchins promised me when I talked to him on the phone that when it was done, it would look like a brand new truck just rolled out of the car wash. And I told him he's going to have all the time he needed. I just guess I didn't expect that he was going to want to keep my truck as a project truck for the rest of the year because of the incompetence of his workforce. 9 weeks was unacceptable. Mr. Hutchins himself refused to show up when I showed up to take delivery of my truck. And he knew why. And I think I know why, because I had it made up. What I was expecting to hear, regardless of the condition of my truck, was 0 balance due, and we are so sorry for inconveniencing you, Dave and Wendy and their family, and Peanut and Josie and their family. Please accept our apology, and 0 balance due. You don't owe us anything else. That's not what I got. Scooby wouldn't show up. He wouldn't even, he would barely even acknowledge me via text messages on the phone. Now, he talked to Josh on the phone while I was there, but he wouldn't have anything to do with me. And I told him through text message, look, I really wish that you were here right now so we could talk about this. And he wouldn't show up, which I think is just sad, because I am the nicest customer they've ever had. I never even raised my voice. Not once did I raise my voice with them. Not once did I don't cuss anyway. You know, it's not in my heart to speak that kind of trash. But I never lost my cool, and he wouldn't show up. And so what they did was they took $1,000, or not even $1,000. He said that he would take $300 off. Now Josh ended up just making it, an even $1,000. I talked to Josh about it. Wendy, who is a very outspoken woman, haggled with him to get him to come down, and he just kept saying, look, there's nothing I can do about it. Scooby is the one who makes these decisions, and he said this is all that he would do. And this is all that he would do because he's already losing money on this truck. And I said, I don't give a crap about how much money he loses. I really don't. So, overall, at the end of the day, when I finally left there on July the 13th, it was checked in June the 22nd, and on July 13th, I paid an even $1,000. Well, that's less than $2,600 to be sure. Personally, I think what I was requesting was fair, in that zero balance due and an apology. That's all I was wanting. But I went there fully prepared to pay whatever I had to pay. Why? Because I gotta have something to drive, man. I need my truck. And so, looking on here, they changed my work order, saying that I did not pay for the top tier paint package when that's what I had requested, and said that I had paid for the $1,100. Well, what I paid, actually, the overall paint was $2,209.85, and on the ticket it was $1,806.88, with the savings of $403. I believe that's a little bit more than $1,100. Now, I understand it's less than $2,500, but remember, Barry and I had already talked about this. Then, surface recondition. Okay, not much, $122.61. Body shop structural labor, $425. Actually, so the body work is going to be $1,200 and some change. But the thing is, what he has here as a grand total is $3,600. Wait a minute. The grand total I got from Barry was $5,220.15. I paid half of that down. Half is what was required in order to check in my truck to be worked on. They're telling me that my grand total is $3,600. Okay, that's $1,600 light. I didn't get what I ordered. I didn't get what I ordered in the time that they promised. I didn't get what I ordered in 9 weeks. There was no communication unless I asked for it. Scooby wouldn't even show up to talk to me about this, so a complete lack of respect for his customer. Furthermore, he never offered to supply me with a loaner car or a rental so that I could leave my truck there longer so that it could be done right. And he's concerned about losing money himself and not concerned about my sacrifice, my inconvenience, Dave and Wendy's sacrifice, their inconvenience, Peanut and Josie and their sacrifice and their inconvenience. The overall experience is that it was a nightmare, and their reputation as a company is well deserved. So, with that said, I'm going to take wow, this video has really gone on long. We're at 45 minutes and 32 seconds right now. So for the next few minutes, I'm just going to walk around the truck. I washed it today. See, it wasn't washed when I took delivery of the truck. It was nasty. But I washed it today, and because we need to be able to see. But I'm going to show you most of the best that I can with my cell phone camera, the shoddy work that they had done. Okay, here we go. Now, I have already done some of the modifications to my truck that I had planned on doing. For example, I have replaced the front bumper. There was behind the fly plate on it was a big old dent where the previous owner had ball checked the pickup truck in front of him in the parking lot. I have a new grille installed, new headlights, and new marker turn signals installed up on the front, as well as the bug shield. None of those things were on when it was at Maaco, except for the brand new marker light housings. And so I've got the front bumper replaced. But yeah, let's just start right up here. Don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but the paint, the inside corner there is it's the right color. That's just not good coverage. Right down here, they dusted my tow hooks, and see if we can. Now the color is right, and the color looks really good, I think. It has it's not showing up well in the video, but it does have some good flake to it. Now you could look right up in here. This is all buffing compound that was dried on, that they didn't feel like taking care of. And here also, if you look up here on top of the trim, see that fine white line? Buffing compound. And it's like that all the way down. Come up underneath here. Don't know how well it's going to show up, but that tape line is not very good. Look right here. This buffing compound. I can't get it off. It's stuck on. And they got it here in around the windows also. Here you can see more. Check this out. Watch this. You ready for it? Can you say overspray? they painted the placard. Why did they paint the placard? And look at this. What is that? That's buffing compound. This is a door jamb. Also the mirrors. I just recently replaced them. Okay, we'll see if we can get some of this in here. I'm not sure if it's going to show up very well on the video, but there are marks, vertical marks, up and down the whole thing, where they ran their buffer, and they ran the buffing wheel dry. They didn't have enough compound on it because it left marks. I had someone ask me, does it even have a clear coat on it? I said, yeah. How do you know? I know there's a clear coat on it because I can see from the inside clear coat overspray over the passenger side of the windshield. Overspray, clear coat. Why is there any some clear coat overspray on the windshield? Now, here's one that kind of chaps me a little bit. This is where the rust was. You can see it. It's where the rust still is. This was the main reason why I moved paint up so high on my list. They didn't take care of the rust. Come around here. Oh yeah. I don't know how well you can see it. My leaf springs are a really pretty shade of blue. Some more buffing compound right up there. But look at this bed rail cap. Got to give credit where it's due, and I will, because this is an honest review. They did an awesome job repairing this bed cap. And the dent that was right here, they did an awesome job repairing that. I just replaced the rear bumper last weekend. Look at this. Look at this. This line. I hope it's showing up on the video. It's all the way across. This is buffing compound. Now, not only should I not be seeing it, and also here, all the way around, but this, not only should I not be seeing it because it shouldn't be on there, this whole plastic cap should not be on there. And it shouldn't be on there because I told them I wanted them to remove it and then to repair whatever damage that there might have been underneath this top. Well, it's still there. And I guess that's where it's going to stay. Come down here. Oh, look, my exhaust pipe. I wish they had gone ahead and made that an even blue. Why is there overspray on the exhaust pipe? And again, my leaf springs. Look at how pretty they are. Oh, look. More rust that was not taken care of. It's just pathetic. But they did a really good job on these bed rail caps. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being serious. I'm really impressed because these bed rail caps were in pretty bad shape. And let's see. Yes. Look at this right here. That is a tape line. There's another tape line. Oh, and looky here. Paint on the trim. It's just, look at this. Look at this. That's not buffing compound. That's a tape line on the top side of the trim. Look here. Some more buffing compound. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Right here. In here. It's all over the bed. It's everywhere. And again, lots of overspray. So here's the original color of the truck. So the new color is just a little bit darker. It's pretty close, but I do love this color. Right here, I don't know how well it's going to show up, but it's dull. It looks like they put the wheel on it, the buffing wheel on it, but either didn't spend enough time doing it or didn't have enough compound on it. Yeah, you can kind of see right there. Shiny, dull. Shiny, dull. You can kind of see it. I tell you what, it looks a whole lot better now than it did before I took it in. And it looks 100 times better than it did when I refused delivery of it. But even saying that it looks better now than it did before I took it in doesn't excuse the fact I did not get what I paid for. I did not get what was on the work order. And I am sorry that I'm going to have to say, if you're thinking about Maaco, don't. If there is any way that you can afford to take your vehicle to a respectable auto body and paint shop, it'd be much better for you to do that. Yes, it's going to be more expensive, but you'll get your vehicle back sooner, and it will look better than a factory paint job. So anyway, this is my review of Maaco. Their very bad reputation is very well deserved. And apparently, you can't trust all of the good reviews that you may or may not find online. But this is my experience. It was not a good one. The owner, Kevin Hutchins, demonstrated gross lack of integrity, negligence, complete negligence on the part of his team, and very condescending and disrespectful that he wouldn't even show up when I was coming to finally take delivery of my vehicle. Yes, I told him he'd have all the time he needed. I wasn't thinking he was going to keep it another 4 weeks. And he shouldn't have. But I told him that he was not only inconveniencing me, but 2 other families. And I needed something to drive. He did nothing to help it out. I would have been perfectly willing to pay full price had he been willing to help me out with a ride and get it done right. That's my final review of Maaco. And I cannot recommend Maaco to anyone who is needing to have their vehicle repainted. Alright, I hope that this video was informative, that you got something out of it, and thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, you're amazing. because this has been a very long video.